All right, so today we're diving into something a little different. A love story, but not your typical love story, no way. We're talking ancient Egypt, forbidden romance, a dash of humor. And oh yeah, did I mention there's an invasion thrown in for good measure?
Sounds intriguing. Where do we even begin with a story like that?
Well, we're diving into a fictional work that revolves around these two characters, Hakeem and Aisha. And on the surface, it might seem like, just a fun little romp through ancient Egypt. But something tells me there's more to uncover here. What do you think? Ready to dig a little deeper?
Absolutely. Let's unravel this love story.
One of the first things that really struck me was the role of laughter in the story. It's not just like background noise. It feels almost crucial to how these characters, Hakeem and Aisha, they deal with their world. And their world is, well, let's just say it's not all sunshine and roses. Forbidden love, societal expectations, and as we mentioned, an invasion to top it all off.
You've hit on something really important there. The story really highlights laughter as a source of strength, a way to cope with adversity. And, when you think about the context of ancient Egypt, a society with these rigid hierarchies, traditions, laughter becomes a form of resistance almost, a way for Akeem and Aisha to find joy despite all these external pressures.
Right. It's like, yeah, things might be tough, but we're not going to let that steal our joy. It makes you wonder, does humor thrive in adversity?
It's an interesting thought, isn't it? And this isn't something unique to ancient Egypt or even fictional characters. Think about it. How many times have you turned to humor during a tough time? Whether it's a coping mechanism, a way to connect with someone, or even a small act of defiance, it's a universal human experience. That moment when a shared laugh, even amidst chaos, can bring relief, a reminder that you're not alone.
Oh, absolutely. I remember this one time. Look, get back to Hakeem and Aisha. The story doesn't just tell us about their laughter, it shows us. Like that scene where Hakeem, he's this brilliant scribe, but kind of clumsy. He dresses up in these ridiculous disguises just to sneak past the temple guards to meet Aisha.
And Aisha, a dedicated priestess, she's drawn to his irreverence, this willingness to bend the rules, even if it's just to steal a moment together. And their laughter in those moments, it becomes like this shared secret, a symbol of their rebellion against the norms that try to keep them apart.
Yes. And it's not just about being silly, it's their thing. This way of connecting that's uniquely theirs. And it comes up again and again throughout the story. Remember that part with this disastrous cooking attempt? I think they almost burned down the entire kitchen.
Ah, yes, the infamous scorched stew incident. But instead of getting frustrated, they turn it into this running joke, a memory that actually brings them closer. And that speaks volumes about their relationship, doesn't it? They're comfortable enough to laugh at themselves, to be vulnerable with each other, and that's a really powerful sign of their connection.
It really makes you think about their love playing out against this backdrop of ancient Egypt, a world so steeped in tradition, and I'd imagine more than a little societal pressure. And that actually makes me think about another big theme in their story, the whole tension between personal ambition and, well, that deep need for love and connection.
It's a classic dilemma, isn't it? And the story does a beautiful job of portraying it. On one hand, you have Hakeem, right? With his inventive mind, always pushing boundaries, the very definition of ambition. He reminds me of those figures you read about in ancient Egyptian texts, always striving for innovation, like Imhotep, the architect who designed the step pyramid. And then you have Aisha, dedicated to her role as a priestess, a path that demands so much, putting the needs of her community first.
And it makes you wonder how those two powerful forces, ambition and love, how do they coexist? It's something we all deal with, right? Finding that balance between going after what we want and nurturing our relationships. Have you ever felt that pull? Trying to honor both your own path and the commitments you've made to someone you love.
Oh, absolutely. It's a delicate dance, and the story doesn't pretend it's easy. Like that part where Hakeem gets completely swept up in his latest invention, this self-writing quill. Brilliant idea, of course, but he gets so fixated on it that he starts neglecting Aisha, missing their meetings, forgetting important dates, the works.
Ouch. Yeah, that's gotta hurt. And here I was thinking a self-writing quill would solve all my problems.
Wouldn't that be nice? But even in ancient Egypt, love needs a bit more than fancy gadgets. And on the flip side, we see Aisha struggling with her own internal conflict, Her duties at the temple, they're so demanding, and sometimes she's torn between her calling and that deep desire to just be with Hakeem.
So how do they deal with that? Does the story give us any clues, any advice for those of us trying to find that balance ourselves?
It's interesting. It doesn't offer a simple solution, like do this and everything will be perfect. It's not about picking one or the other, ambition or love. It's about something more complicated.
Tell me more. I'm intrigued.
Well, it's about open communication, truly confiding in each other. And we see that throughout the story. Those quiet moments when Hakeem and Aisha share their dreams, their fears, they create this space where it's okay to be vulnerable, to admit what they need without judgment.
That makes a lot of sense. Bottling things up never really works, does it?
Not usually, no. And it's not just communication, it's about compromise. And not in the sense of one person giving up their dreams, but more like finding ways to support each other's journeys, even if it means adapting, making adjustments, maybe even spending some time apart.
So we've talked about their laughter, how they use it to kind of cope with everything life throws at them, and then that balance, trying to find their own paths while staying connected. But ultimately, it's a love story. And that makes me think about the whole idea of love's lasting power. I mean, that's kind of at the heart of it all, right?
Absolutely. And this is where the story really goes beyond ancient Egypt and becomes something much more universal. We see that even amidst all the chaos and uncertainty, their love endures. It makes you wonder, is love just something we find? Or is it something we create, something we choose every single day?
It's a good question. And honestly, I think this story makes a strong case for the latter, especially when you consider everything they go through. I mean, war breaks out, it tears them apart. They're dealing with being separated, wondering if they'll ever see each other again. That's not exactly a recipe for easy love.
Right. It's definitely put to the test. But even then, you see these glimpses of their love refusing to be extinguished, like those secret messages they manage to send each other. Imagine risking everything just to get a few words to the person you love. It speaks volumes about their commitment.
It's like their love. It becomes an act of defiance in itself, a testament to how powerful human connection can be, even in the darkest of times.
Exactly. Or think about how they cling to shared memories, those inside jokes, stolen moments. It's like they're keeping each other alive in their hearts, even when they're miles apart. And, the ending of this love story, well, it's not exactly what you might expect, but it does say something really profound about the impact love can have. Even when a love story ends, the ripples, the echoes of it, they can last for generations.
Wow, I'm getting chills. It's bigger than just Hakeem and Aisha, isn't it? It's this idea that the love we share, the connections we make, they leave a mark, not just on us, but on the people who come after us.
It's a beautiful thought, isn't it? That even the small choices, the laughter, the sacrifices, the way we show up for the people we care about, those things matter. They create a legacy.
This whole deep dive has been incredible. We started with this seemingly simple love story, ancient Egypt, a little bit of humor. But we covered so much more. It makes you realize how powerful stories can be and how the connections we make, they shape not just our present, but our future, and maybe even the future of those who come after us.